Bizarre Brain Comics. Hello, my comic book friends, and welcome to Bizarre Brain Comics. I am Gary, your host. This is where I like to take a look at some older comics, talk a little bit about the characters and creators, and examine the stories and the art. And this time, I thought we would take a look at the first and early appearances of one who was a favorite of mine way back then, is Deathlok the Demolisher. And his first appearance was right here in Astonishing Tales number 25 from 1974. Okay, Deathlok was created by Rich Buckler, and he first appeared in Astonishing Tales number 25 from 1974. Okay, remember, this takes place sometime in the future. I guess initially it was supposed to be at around 1990, and a semi-post-apocalyptic world of an alternate future. And he was a soldier, Luther Manning, who was fatally injured, killed, and his body was turned into a cyborg. Of course, a cyborg is a cybernetic organism, for those who don't know. He had artificial and or enhanced limbs. Like his right arm was artificial, his left eye is artificial, and his other limbs are artificially enhanced, which give him superhuman strength and endurance. And he has a computer implanted in his body. It's basically in his chest and in his head. Part of his brain was removed, and we see in the story that his mind converses with the computer, and that is established using a computer-like type style on that hand lettering. And I do want to give all the letterers credit, because that style of lettering is very difficult to do by hand, and they did it. Of course, later it was all done on a computer, but still. So, like I said, part of his brain was removed. And he appeared in Astonishing Tales from number 25 through 36, except for number 29, and ran through 76. Thereafter, he was pretty much relegated to an occasional guest spot on various other titles. And I guess there have been 5 other characters who were known by the Deathlok moniker. That was funny. When I picked this up on the rack, on the spinner rack, when I was a kid, I saw that and I go, and the way it looks, the way it reads when I first saw it is Deathlok. It took a couple seconds for me to realize that that's lock without a C, but it looked like Deathlok, and I always remembered that, and that has been a running inside joke to myself ever since. Even when they had Deathlok on the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show, I called him Deathlok. Those Deathlok, because he's a man locked in death. And I think, whether intentionally or not, you see, the better known RoboCop is basically the same thing as Deathlok, except here he was being used as an assassin initially, when instead of like RoboCop was a cop. But similarly, he was all controlled by the computer. The brain was there simply to help facilitate the use and control of the rest of the body. But he became conscious of himself again, began having remembering himself, and eventually the organic brain took over the entire the entire cyborg. And of course, now I was into this because this was right at the very height of the $6 Million Man popularity, and that is undoubtedly a an influence on the creation of Deathlok, to the point that after the first issue or two, they're calling his augmentations bionic, which is a word that was created specifically for the original Cyborg novel that the $6 Million Man is based on. And of course, the term bionic has come to mean virtually any prosthesis, even though they're not bionic. So here we go. This is it's Rich Buckler. I think he initially did the plot, created the character, wrote the plot. Usually had someone else doing the script, and did all or part of the art. Did the penciling. Sometimes, like in this one, he did his own inks. Some of the others had like Pablo Marcos in them. So this is the first part of his first initial run. He's had a couple of individual comics, individual titles, like miniseries and the like. Since then, they've changed. I never liked the follow-up stuff very well at all, especially when the more recent Deathlok character, the big, is just the same Deathlok body with a different organic brain in it. And that guy's got what, Michael Collins, I think is his name. So, but Deathlok the Demolisher, is he man or machine or monster? You can't know till you've read our fearsome first issue, the steel-smashing origin of the world's most offbeat superhero, perhaps the greatest creation yet in the Marvel Age of Comics. Phase 2. Hey, Phase 2. They used Phase 2 and 3 in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Okay, we'll have a little look here. Just a brief look. Yeah, some really great. See all this computer stuff. That's all done by hand, and then you see. See where? Yeah, you can. No, you can't. But see if we can focus there. You see all that computer lettering and stuff. That's all done by hand. And I really commend all these letterists who did this. And of course, he's on a mission. He has flashbacks of his origin and previous life, and it turns out the general who's in charge of his project, who happens to look just like Thunderbolt Ross, but his name is, I think, Riker. Turns out he's a cyborg. And here's one of the other guys he's supposed to be he's angry with from inside the organization, and he's a cyborg. And he just pounds him. So it's just like cyborgs and cyborgs. Here. Issue 26, Astonishing Tales, Deathlok the Demolisher, Death Machine for Hire. So now he's on a rampage trying to get this. This has I guess Pablo Marcos was doing the inks on this issue, and they made a great artistic team. Lots of action and revenge, and he's rebelling and trying to reacquire his own identity instead of just a killing machine, which is what they had in mind. Then there's 27 still, and here is a friend of his who was also killed and turned into another cyborg called Warwolf. And he has to, and they have to go head to head. Warwolf. Some really great action sequences, and but being in the stuck in the future like that, in that time period, you can't really do anything with interact with other Marvel characters. The closest might have been Killraven from me. Anyway. Oh, my rifle's jammed. Yeah, he's still doing the artwork. Rich Buckler. Concept, script, and artwork. 5-1 Deathlok. Oh, jeez. Still, is great artwork. I just liked Rich Buckler's stuff. Doing his own style. Which was very, very similar to Neil Adams at the time, but he was a good imitator, because for some things he would use a Jack Kirby stylization. Some others he would use make his stuff look more like John Buscema, and that was the end of that initial run. Had something else for the following issue, and then it was back to some more Deathlok. It might have been delayed or something. I don't know what the deal was. And I've got some more Deathlok, just a few issues running around someplace, but these were all handy all together, and so I thought that'd be good to share with them. Then we skip a year to 76. Marvel team up featuring Spider-Man and Deathlok. And I wanted to mention the hassle of some of these older comics is the ink smears. You can't see it as much in this one, but the black ink had a tendency to come off on your fingers and smear all over the covers, but you can really see it in this one. Lots of ink smears. Frenzy in the not-too-distant future. The battle you demanded. This is tied into, was the continuing storyline featuring Spider-Man in his team-up. He was doing some bopping through time. And this time he bopped into Deathlok's alternative future. And they, of course, initially against each other, and then working together to save innocent people, and etc. Of course, this was drawn by Sal Buscema and Mike Esposito, written by Bill Mantlo. It's hard to open one of these older comics and actually get to a page of art. It's usually ads, and so that was Marvel Team Up number 46 from 77. Then we go to another team up. Marvel 2-in-1, 1977, from that's issue 27, presents Thing versus Deathlok. Now, this time, and this is a Jack Kirby cover. And that's so I think that's probably the only time we ever see Jack Kirby doing this character. And this time by now he has gone back to the present. To the main Marvel timeline, and he's basically taken over and being used at various times by various organizations, using him as an assassin stuff. All this eventually rolls up to when the brain is replaced and have a mini series, and he basically a recreation. This was written by Marv Wolfman with Ron Wilson and Pablo Marcos as artists. And again, they work together as a great team in this. But this one has his Deathlok, assassin again, and his objective, he is supposed to assassinate President Jimmy Carter. For those who may not remember, Jimmy Carter was president at that time. And probably the nicest guy, even though relatively ineffective president, probably the nicest guy ever to be in the White House. And so, so that's all I've got to share with you this time. Just a few tidbits of a character that I loved growing up. And so much, in fact, that shortly after I got that first issue, I was with a friend. We were goofing around and had some fabric paint, and we made some T-shirts, and I painted Deathlok on my T-shirt. I was 13, 14, 15, somewhere along in there. So that's all I've got to share with you this time. Please like, share, and subscribe. Do let me know in the comments below what you think of Deathlok. This is the version that I like, Deathlok. Everything else is that I have seen anyway is just a pale imitation of the character. So, do you like Deathlok? Do you like this version? Do you like the miniseries from the '90s with Michael Collins, or anything else, any others? Let me know in the comments below. Or if you just think this is stupid, it's too derivative, but it's, how do you think it compares to RoboCop? All that. Let me know in the comments below. And remember, boop, boop, comics are art.